public, private, and civil society. So after that, for not quite a long time, as you may know as well, that we have changed the regime. We have quite frequent, frequent coup d'etat, about up until now, about 3 times, 2 or 3 times, I could not remember, because so many coup d'etat in Thailand history, after 1935, that we call changing the regime from absolute monarchy to be so-called, democracy under the constitution, and the monarchy is under the constitution too. That is written in the constitution up until now, until the late one. That we announced to use about almost 4 years ago. So the lesson we learned is that we recognize the decentralization for sure. So the local administrative organization take major role in doing such a thing. I mean, decentralization to the community, to the people in the local, each part of Thailand. Either in the north, the northern part, the northeastern, the south. So when we decentralize, it will organize under the context of each region. That is good, and is acceptable, for not only Thailand, but it's also accepted under the global situation. So anyway, for the latest constitution in 2560 BE, you have to reduce by 543, to be the year of the Christ year. Okay, so we have also still, even from the coup d'etat, from the latest coup d'etat, we still insist in decentralization. So local government, local organization take major role in doing such a thing. The meaning is that the representative of the administrator for local government in all level must come from election. That is mentioning in the latest constitution. We have to call which constitution, because it's so many constitutions. The latest one still by the product of the coup d'etat, and it changed to be election system. 2 years ago, we have a government, even we have a loot from coup d'etat, because the prime minister is still the same one who is the one who took coup d'etat last 8 years. So during the 8 years up until the latest constitution, we freeze, the election for local government completely freeze. It has been frozen. So but by the way, eventually because of the global standard, and also the pressure of the so many parties, so many sector that the local government must be revised and practiced under the constitution, because the constitution clearly said that all the administration in this country must be decentralized into the local government organization. So we finally we have election, this year, this beginning of the year, at the provincial level, we call provincial administrative organization first. And now on 28th of March, we're gonna have the next election after 8 years. Okay, after freezing 8 years, we will have metropolitan. We have what you call at the provincial level also, but it's not the same as the first one. So the mayor, the mayor election and the team. So on the 28th of March, we hope to have the election that is transparent, transparent and by the people. The people voting must be respect and should not be this change or something like buying vote or doing some untransparency, as as we hope, after the long-term freezing of the election of local government level. So after that, after 28th of March, I just tell you the sequence, because in Thailand it's quite complex, even for Thai people. When you talk about decentralization, you have to recall, which one or when and where and under what constitutions, because we have more than 10 constitutions at moment, from 1975, 1935, sorry, from 1935 that we changed the regime. So the next one will be at the Tambon sub-district, we call Tambon in Thai language, the sub-district level after the mayor election this March, 28th of March. And that means, the decentralization by the local government will be completely, practiced after we have been freezing for almost 8 years, So I hope, and many Thai people hope that the administration under the local government organization will be practice abiding the law or abiding the constitution, as we would like to be. And I think things could be better. Hopefully that could be better. Even now we still have some questions. Yeah, and for some special place like Bangkok, I give you the example. Okay, after the three level have been practiced, until up to the sub-district level, the lowest, the grassroots organizations. And we still have Bangkok metropolitan election. The Bangkok governor now at moment is a product of coup d'etat. Okay, you can look at his profile. He's a police general police, the big position at that time, and he was appointed not from election, Mr. Asawin Kwanmoon, to be the governor of Bangkok metropolitan. And then we hope that the government of Bangkok eventually will be elected from the people also, but they haven't mentioned about that yet. I'm quite worried that they might be or might not be an election for Bangkok governor, because it's not really serious mentioning in the constitution. They said that in the constitution, the present one, that the governor of Bangkok metropolitan can be from election or can come from some other source as well. So they might open for some power, for the government, the central government, to control Bangkok, because Bangkok is the center of everything. It's a center of government office, the major one, the palace, and all kind of influence in Bangkok, the big business center, all in Bangkok. Unlike in United States, for example, United States, New York is a big city, right? But the capital city is not the big one. It's Washington D.C. So it's quite different from Bangkok. Bangkok is everything. I think the government, if they're not sincere enough, they want to control Bangkok metropolitan. So that's why maybe the election for governor for Bangkok metropolitan might be or might not be. I'm not quite sure about this, but at least the three level for the upcountry has been practiced and will be practiced soon at the sub-district level. Okay, that is the picture of the Thailand decentralization. And when you mentioned about the topic that is about the development, I'm not so sure about the development. I think maybe the development start from the 8 years, but the development should be increasing after 1935, but it's not like that. It's not exactly like that. So for my point of view, I think the development from the latest coup 8 years ago up till now, and I hope it will be developed, for decentralization, as many people hope too. Okay, that is the first of my presentation. Maybe is it enough, and can I wait for the next view of other speaker, and I can add something more about my presentation. Pak Eko.
Yeah, thank you very much, Acara Sukanya. It was really fruitful presentation that we have finally got some information and understanding about how the society, how the people in Thailand is really have problems, especially in facing with military coup d'etat, because in current situation, I think Thailand is a bit similar with Myanmar. They close enough how to take a power from civil society to go to military. It's good. That's why in this situation, the constitution in Thailand is always changing. It's interesting, especially when we look at about the situation as well in the local government, how they have to dealing with the election. And the next presenter will be our speaker. The next speaker will be Dr. Adil. Adil is coming from Sudan. He will talk about what the local government do in Sudan, how local government, how the central government deal with public sector issue in Sudan. Adil, is it time for you? Take your time, 20 minutes for your presentations. Feel free, Adil.
Okay. Thank you so much, Professor Eko. Today, I am happy to be with you, to join you and discuss about the local government development. I would like to talk about local government development in Sudan. Decentralization and local government in Sudan actually start very early ago. It starts from the fund. Before the Sudan come as a state or as a country, there was kingdoms. The first kingdom, we call it Fund Kingdom. Fund Kingdom, they divide their kingdom into areas to facilitate and to make the control and the governing easy. So, to have more details about the local government, let's share the screen. Here, as I said, I'm Adil Hassan from Sudan. As I mentioned before, we will discuss about the local government. So, local government is the public administration of counties, districts, regions, cities, and towns. These levels of government involves both municipal and county structure of government. The entities should or must work side by side in order to administrate and achieve the goals of local government properly. Local government is a set of powers, prerogatives, actors that can exist in various configurations. Let's have a definition from the UN. UN has defined the local government as units in the state established by law, which have the authority to administer local affairs, including the power to impose taxes. The local government body is either elected or appointed or both. Also, it has defined as a government administrative unit that has rule of law, a legislative and executive body, and has the power to impose taxes and authorize an independent budget, and it can implement it is decisions by force of law. This government operates in a small geographic region, in a society and characterized by homogeneity, customs, values, and traditions. According to this definition, we can find the main pillars of the local government is people, and geography area is made by law and authority. Since 1980s, calls for the local government have been increased and repeated to transfer powers from the level of central government to the lower levels of local governments in forms of decentralization, which includes devolutionist, delegationist, and deconcentrating. Local governments are different from country to country in terms of structure, actors, prerogatives, powers that the local government holds, in addition to the relation between local government and central government, and private sector, residents, and civil society. Now, let's move to the actors of the local government. The actors include local councils or legislatures, mayors or other executives, the bureaucracy, and service providers, the police, and the judiciary. These are the 5 actors of local government. So we have to know the objectives of local government, as I'm talking about the local government in Sudan. There are 2 basic aims of local government. These are provision of services and development in the local areas, and also engagement of citizens in power, the citizens of local areas. But there are another classification for the objectives of the local government. So it can be political objectives, administrative objectives, economical objectives, and social objectives. A political objectives is to enhance the democracy and the practice of democracy among the community of local, among the local community. And also the participation of the local people in decision making. We have also administrative objectives. So it can increase the efficiency and effectiveness, and it can improve the performance of the government members in the locality, and also the simplification of the procedures. Okay, we have also economical objectives. Is support the central government, and also the equitable distribution of resources. Localities, they have resources, and the central government should distribute those resources equally or according to the population of the localities. And also we have social objectives. It promote the national unity and enhancing the rights and duties of the people. Local people must know their rights and their duties in the country, so as they can contribute in building their country. Let's move to the local government and decentralization in Sudan. Before we talk about it, let's see the country file, Sudan country profile. Officially, Sudan is known as the Republic of Sudan. It is an African country. It's located at the northeastern part of the African continent. It's bordered by 7 countries. Egypt to the north, Libya to the northwest, Chad to the west, Central Africa to the southwest, South Sudan to the south, Ethiopia to the southeast, and Eritrea to the east. The Red Sea separates Sudan and Saudi Arabia. The population of Sudan today is estimated at 43 million, according to the UN. Because since 2010, there was no transparent census. That is why we depend just on UN estimations. The official language of the Sudan are Arabic and English language. Sudan is rich with multiculturalism. It can be described as mixed culture, African and Arabic. There are more than 90 major ethnic groups and more than 500 ethnic subgroups and more than 100 local languages and dialects. Sudan was colonized by British and Egypt. Actually, in 2011, Sudan divided into 2 countries. It became South Sudan and Sudan. Dear watchers, allow me to show the map of the Sudan. This is Sudan and it is neighboring countries. As we see, this is the map of Sudan. This is Red Sea and this is Saudi Arabia, as I mentioned before, that Red Sea separates between Sudan and Saudi Arabia. And these are the countries that are neighbors of the Sudan. Okay, let's move to the levels of the government in Sudan. Today, Sudan is divided into 18 states and 133 localities. But there is an attempt to establish regional system. The head of the Transitional Sovereignty Council in Sudan, Mr. Abdul Fattah al-Burhan, issued a constitutional decree establishing a federal regional system of government in a country. A state issued by the Sovereignty Council's media, and it stated that al-Burhan issued a constitutional decree No. 6 of 2021, establishing the regional federal system of government in Sudan. The decree stipulated the implementation of the federal or regional system of the government following the convening of the Conference on System of Government in Sudan that defines the regions, their number, borders, structures, competencies, powers, levels of governance and administration in a manner that does not contradict with the Juba Agreement for Sudan Peace 2020. It's well known that the government of Sudan, the transitional government of Sudan, assigned peace agreement with the armed struggling movements in 2020. As it is clear here in this figure, the levels of the government in Sudan until now is 4 levels. We have central government in the capital, we have a state government, and we have local government, and we have the administration of the villages and rural areas. Okay. There in Sudan, we have numbers of challenges and difficulties that face the local government development. So these challenges can be shown as here. we have fiscal barriers and administrative barriers and political barriers. The fiscal barriers include lack of budget and lack of resources. Administrative, I summarize it as lack of efficiency and lack of skillful personnel, human resources. The political barriers or challenges, it can be instability and civil wars, and also the fighting among the political members. As I mentioned before, the Sudanese state have a limited capacity for revenue generation and tax collection and are consequently high dependent on fiscal transfer from the central government. Yet, fiscal transfer to states and local communities continue to be plagued by limited transparency and a lack of predictability. This creates a perception of patronage and politicization of relations between central government and state authorities. Also, we have administrative challenges or administrative barriers of local government development. There is continuous to be limited clarity and understanding of the roles and responsibilities of government authorities of different levels of government. This is exacerbated by limited capacity in terms of personnel, technology, and finances at the lowest level of government. We have also political challenges. The creation of the state boundaries and the nomination and appointment of state and local officials are characterized by fights. As I mentioned before, this fights between the political forces rather than an objective assessment of the best outcome. The central government has few real links to the people. It is supposed to be serving and political interests. These are individuals who would represent local interests from obtaining representative positions in central government agencies. Furthermore, nepotism and other forms of corruption plague the government of all levels. And these are the facts. Dear watchers, professors, students, all of you, I think until here, we have reached at the end of our presentation, and I have to thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much for your following. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Brother Adil. It's a very good presentation, especially for your PowerPoint. It was really clear that we got some information about how Sudan step by step move from centralized to be centralized government, how Sudan faces the problem from how to create the civil society and then to create how people can do some participation in local governments. It's really interesting. And without ado, there are several question and answer, but please wait a minute because we still have one distinguished speaker. The third one distinguished speaker is Professor Dr. Dyah Mutiarin. He is a professor from Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Currently, she is a lecturer at Magister Ilmu Pemerintahan. Dr. Dyah Mutiarin, it's time for yours. Please feel free to take 20 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you, Professor Eko Priyo Purnomo. Hopefully soon. Amin. Yeah. Good morning.
Amin.
Good morning.
Dr. Sukanya.
Yeah.
Good morning, Adil Hassan.
Good morning. Yeah.
Good morning.
Nice to meet you again
Yeah,
here.
nice to meet you too.
Thank you for the delay. I am late in joining this webinar. Okay, and good morning also to all my students who are joining in this class. So actually, this is I attending my class. I teach in my class with all the students offline. Dr. Sukanya.
But where is your face?
Yeah.
We couldn't see your face.
Okay. Wait a minute. Okay. But Yayu still help me to help the technical how to show my face here because the camera is on the class. I mean for my students. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Good.
To all the students also from other university, which is who are joined in this morning webinar. I hope all of you are stay healthy and always be blessed. Yeah. Good morning to all of you. Okay, my title here is the local government development in Indonesia post global pandemic. So yeah, I would try to talk about how the situation in Indonesia, particularly for local government after the COVID. But still we are in the COVID now. Okay, for student in Thailand, I think here
The participant coming from Malaysia and also the Philippines as well, Mbak. Not only from not only from Indonesia.
Okay.
And Thailand, yeah.
Yeah, good morning to all of you who are in Malaysia and also in Thailand.
Good morning.
Yeah, morning. Mbak Rami, next slide, please. Okay. Sawadee-krap. Selamat pagi to all of you. I hope what I will share here will give you new information on what happened to us, to Indonesians, and also particularly what happened in local government. So as we know, the situation in Indonesia and I think in what happened in the world after the pandemic came. So we feel that the pandemic has changed everything. Our life suddenly changed in many things, yeah. And who are the impacted groups here? I try to clarify. There are actually outside of government, local government, there are also individuals or household and micro and small medium enterprises who are really hit by this coronavirus, and also corporation, real sectors such as property sector and also financial sector. So there are many situations happen in this all sector. Mbak Rami, please make it slideshow, Mbak. So it can be more readable for the audience. Yeah. And if we know that the policy to overcome this all COVID-19 impact, there are basically three main policies for Indonesian government. First is the social safety net, and second is the real sector safety net, and the third one is the financial sector safety net. So with these all policies, the government hope that everything will be back to normal because we have give many subsidies also to workers, also subsidies for the poor. And also now we are developing in things. And the main policies, such as the allowance or postponement of withholding tax. This is about the tax, and also the delay of payment. So it is more on credit restructuring. And the third one is the business and investment. Well, we push for investment even we are in the COVID situation. And the fourth one is the process of process service and service acceleration for the public sector, and also special facilitation. Yeah. Next, Mbak. Nah, so beside the health security for the people, that was the main priority from the government to the citizens in Indonesia. The next main policy is the economic rescue during the pandemic. So the government trying to make the health security and the economic rescue going along together hand in hand. So we cannot say that the first, if we prioritize the health sector and we neglect the economic rescue. So the government revised the policy that these policies on health and economic must going together hand in hand. Is it clear, my voice, Pak Eko?
Clear, it's very clear.
Oh, okay.
And clear.
Yeah. Okay. And the economic rescue, it is implemented from the central government and down to local government. So all the local government in Indonesia have to follow the policy on economic rescue during the pandemic. I think in terms of government structure in Indonesia and in Thailand, I think it is more similar, almost similar, that we have also central government. We have local government. There are two kinds of local government, province government and regency, and also cities government. And then our lower government structure is the village government. So there are 3 levels of government structure in Indonesia. I back to economic rescue during the pandemic. That economic rescue during the pandemic also cover how the health safety net being implemented for local government, and social safety net, also economic safety net, and national economic recovery measures. For example, the government already allocate the budget support for its policies. So actually our national budget, even it is experienced the contraction for 2020, but it is still shown how the government trying to cover to make the economic, to make the economic achieve the economic growth, but also it is in the other side still prioritize the health safety net. And now the vaccine already distributed to some groups in Indonesia, but still there are very little number if we compare to all the number of citizens in Indonesia. Hopefully the vaccine will be works very well, and we can achieve the herd community as the theory that have been declared by the WHO. Okay, and then next, Mbak. Yeah. We are understand that before the pandemic, the performance of all the government, maybe in the world, including Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia, since it is in normal situation, so any indicators that has been set up in the development planning of central government and also of local government, it is achievable and it has a high performance. If we look at this data for Indonesia, this is the data on 2017 up to 2019. The report on 2020 has not been released. Look at this data, we can say that this performance on ministry, the category on performance accountability system of government agencies, this is for all the government in Indonesia, including the ministry, province, and regency or city. So if we look at this data, we can see that the most of them are in category BB or B. It means that if we look at this category, the standard for the category, the highest for AA score, this is how the efficiency being reached by the government. So most of the agencies in Indonesia, including in ministry level or in provincial level, either in regency level, it is still not very high. It means that there are still some inefficiency in Indonesia. So we can expect or we can understand if in this 2020, maybe the performance of the government will not be very good. I mean that because of the COVID, because of the global pandemic. So we can understand why the government has not released the 2020 data. So we will still wait for that. Next slide, Mbak. Next slide, Mbak Rami. Yeah. And if we try to relate this data, if we try to relate how is the situation, how is the achievement of the local government in Indonesia, we can relate this with the theoretical framework. I try to quote from Webel and Sabatir that governments adopt public policies through different pathways. Yeah, why? Because uncertainties exist regarding the duration and termination of policy decision. If we trying to analyze this theory from what happened with the local government and how the local government also experienced the poor performance because of the COVID pandemic, it is understandable because there are many ways to because there are many interpretation of the central policy government while it is implemented in the local government. For example, I take one sample. The example will be on how the government trying to cope with the financial sector impact. The finance sector impact, if we see on the budget for the government, the uncertainties makes the government, the uncertainties of the COVID itself make the government have to do the refocusing and reallocation. But in the local government side, how do they interpreting the refocusing and reallocation of the budget itself? They simply do the budget, cutting the budget up to 50%. Because the budget from the government also experienced the contraction up to 50%. So they suddenly cut for all sector in local government up to 50%. From this experience, we can see that the interpretation of the local government to central government policy is very, very, they deal with quite careless. Why all sector must be cut up to 50%? What about the health sector that it must be prioritized? What about the education sector that it is also have to be prioritized? Actually, they don't have to experience the 50% cut, budget cutting from the local government itself. But because the time is very short for the government to rearrange the budget, so the local government take the simple policy. So how the termination of the policy decision have been made, it is beyond the government expectation. So that's very simple what happened in Indonesia. Actually, if we look at these cases, it is not wise for the local government to cut the budget in all sectors with 50%. They need to reallocate with the sector with their priority scales. Okay. And the second one, from this theory, it also can be said that government non-decisions become just as important as decisions. Again, if we look at what happened, for example, in Indonesia, the government non-decisions become just as important as decisions itself. For some area, for some province, where the central government recommended to do the, for example, this is not the budget cases. This is the policy on restriction. When the government recommend the restriction of the area geographically, but they do not implement this decision or this policy. It is also happened in Indonesia. So that's why the results of the policy in every local government are different. So this is what happened in local government of Indonesia. And next slide, Mbak. Okay, so now I'm back to the 8 factors in local government in this new normal. This is also implemented in the central government. So first on organization, even we are under the COVID situation, but still there are bureaucracy reform still go on, and we and the government suggests for holacracy. It means that the system is moving from standalone to network organization. And then from human resource management, we recruit the contractual workers. It is not the permanent staff, not many for formation for permanent staff for civil servant, but we call it as contractual workers. And it can be renewed the contract year by year. And for leadership, the government trying to push the delegating rather than directing. It also increasing the collegial model rather than the one-man show model. For the governance, the local government and national government also encourage the e-administration. In Indonesia, there are many e-government implementation model, such as e-administration, e-office, yeah, and also currently we know or smart city. This is also including in the e-governance model for local government. Next slide, Mbak. And for the policy, the government trying to set the data-driven for all the decision. It should be based on data-driven, and for all policy should be evidence-based policy. Should implement the evidence-based policy. And then they have to do evaluation before they make decision, and then reaching out policy. For public policy, the government formulate the model on homeschooling and also work from home for public servant, home hospital, online services, automatic services, web Android-based service, and also one data system and data interoperability. For public participation, still, we use the model for co-creation, crowdsourcing, and for change management. They do the decreasing rule-driven because we push for innovation or knowledge management. And for ethics, still the honesty and integrity principle being put as the first moral principle for the public servant, either in local government or either in central government. So I think that's all from my session this morning, Pak Eko.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dyah Mutiarin, for your presentations. And
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's a really nice presentation, and also the PowerPoint as well is very beautiful as you.
Thank you.
And finally, we got some point how Indonesian government is the very big problem during the COVID-19. How Indonesian government should cut some prioritize, especially about the allocation, about the budgets in terms to deal with the COVID-19. It's really interesting. And before we move to question and answer, I have to remind to all of you, is all the participants, you have to fill all the forms in the chat. There is a Google Doc form, so you just have to fill the form, because after that you will send your certificate through your email. This is the first one. And the second one, once again I really happy to say thank you very much for all the co-hosts in here. Khon Kaen University, Kalasin University, Mahasarakan University, Major University, MSU EIT in the Philippines, Universitas Utara Malaysia, and then our national partner Universitas Muhammadiyah Jember, Universitas Muhammadiyah Jakarta, and then Universitas Aisyah, and some of my colleagues from IPDN, and also I really happy to have here once again as ASEAN Pacific Society for Public Administration Affairs, Yusuf Kala School of Government and Magister Ilmu Pemerintahan. I'm really happy to have you work here. Okay, for the first question is coming from Laude Marisa. Laude Marisa, can you answer directly? Just turn on your microphone, please. Lukna or Akil can help Laude Marisa to turn on the mic. And then the next one will be our brother, Dr. Alma Arif from IPDN. Please turn on your microphone as well. And the third question coming from my sister, Jovita from the Philippines. Hi, Jovita, how are you?
I'm fine, sir. I'm fine.
Yeah, good.
Nice to be here.
Thank you for your coming. So, Laude Marisa, please, you can read directly for your question and then address to whom are you question. Laude Marisa.
Hi.
Okay, please.
Actually, I'm in the office right now, so I can't speak clearly, and so this is very crowded. So I have to state clearly my question on the board, so it's very clear. You can read them directly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question is coming from Marif. Mas Marif, please, time for you. Mas Marif. Okay, if not, I will read down here. Before I read down, please, Jovita, feel free for your question.
Okay, hello, can I be heard?
Yes, it's clear,
Yes.
Jovita.
All right, hello everyone, good morning, and thank you for the chance to raise a question. I am very overwhelmed with the discussions on local governance, especially across 3 countries. And more specifically, as the speakers touch on the impact of pandemic in local governance in the respective countries, I would like to ask I believe one of the fundamental questions in local governance, and I would like to ask the 3 speakers of the level of civil society participation in local governance in the respective countries, especially in times of the pandemic. And if possible, if there are any, maybe we can highlight as well the factors that impedes strong civil society involvement in policy making. So I think that's all. Thank you. And again, I'm very happy to meet the speakers. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Jovita. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the question from Laudi Mariska for Sukanya.
Yes.
Yeah, he asked about how the local government and then especially in Bangkok case and Thailand case dealing with the centralization and then how they manage to reduce the poverty. The question from Laudi for Achan Sukanya, please.
Do you mean that how the local government manage?
Yeah, how the local government manage, and so far they managed to reduce the poverty in Thailand.
And under the COVID-19, right?
Yeah, under the COVID-19, yeah.
As mentioning before that we have the local government, have been under control of the central government for 8 years, according to the constitution. Maybe many constitutions might mention about decentralization. Anyway, we have been keep changing constitution from 1997, 2003, and the latest one is 2017, the latest coup d'etat. So we've been freeze, and then on the policy, including the COVID-19 policy of management to how to deal with it. It's also come from the central government. And you might ask me, how do you manage about the local government during the 8 years of not election at all or not changing? So we have the one who were mayor before, for example, or the head of the sub-district administration to act, to be acting until 8 years, act for 8 years, have been acting for 8 years, no election. So it might be advantage for him or her not to be elected, not to, to put so much effort for that. So they pray as an acting mayor, they pray as an acting of head of the sub-district, and the order, the policy mostly come from the central government, and they adopt to be implemented in the regional office or at the local office. So how to handle, what should be handled? We handle quite well, according to the central government, because Thailand, let's say, frankly speaking, is not so big country, comparing to Indonesia or even Philippines in terms of land and in terms of population. So the one country, about 77 provinces, small province, very small one. We divided into many provinces, but we cannot compare with the province in China, that is much bigger. So it's quite compact, and when we have a policy of controlling, self-quarantine, or, be sure to make, keep distance or something like that, or close at some certain of time, close the restaurant and not to allow to sell some alcohol, because that might cause a problem of being affected by the COVID-19. So we quite effective, we quite doing well and easy, just just the policy from the MOI, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Public Health, and then we organize, in one compact practice. Is quite easy and well done, for the COVID-19 practice under this situation, and under even the situation of the 8 years of cannot have election, at all for local government. But it's okay for COVID government practice. I think, doesn't matter with the local government effective or not effective, because it's centralized and everything easy, from the government, or we have a committee that controls this kind of pandemic as well, the special committee, and we have good communication, many channels. Also have many policy to relieve with the economic turmoil or economic crisis that happened from COVID-19, so the government try to help, compensate some money and help to reduce some cost of living, something like that. So far, it's quite good, I think, in my opinion, that is the situation of Thailand of dealing with COVID-19. Under this situation, under the special, we call special situation in Thailand now, it's not normal. Comparing to Sudan or comparing to Indonesia is quite different, So that is okay for COVID-19 control in Thailand.
Thank you, Achan. Thank you, Achan Sukanya. And the next question is from Laode as well, and for Ma'arif. For Laode, he addressed to Adil Hassan. The question is about how the central governments in Sudan dealing with the poverty. This is the first section. And the second one, how you can make sure that the efficiency and in developing in Sudan can be implemented efficiently. The second question. And there is a question to all the speakers from Al Ma'arif. If we're talking about decentralization, there are two types of decentralization. The first one is regional decentralization, and the second one is functional decentralization. In which particular topics that you have to address in dealing with poverty, in dealing with inequality? This question is to all of the speakers. So for Adil, it's time for yours to answer those questions. After that, I will move to Mutiarin.
Okay, thank you so much for this interesting question. Actually, I want to say that before 2018, we had a regime. So that regime was stopped by the people. And today we have a new government, as we said, it's transitional government. So the government of today tries to manage all issues, including poverty and other issues that are related to the citizens and civilians of Sudan. Actually, previously, there was mismanagement for the issues such as poverty. But today, as I said, government tries to manage it well and tries to reduce the levels of the poverty and other issues, and also to give more powers to the local government to manage themselves by themselves. This is what I want to say about that question. Yes, I hope it is clear.
Okay, thank you. And please, Dr. Mutiarin, if you have some answer. Mbak Arin?
Yeah, sorry. Still mute.
Yes.
Okay. For this question, I read that the question is about how the government to recover the fourth safety net that you mentioned. Is that right or not? Which one?
The question from Ma'arif about the functional decentralization and also about dealing with the territorial decentralization. In this particular, that is can solve the situation.
Yeah, for the financial decentralization, we can see that in 2020, the government done the 3 times changes, revision in the national budget of Indonesia. It means that it is not as usual or it is unusual things that the government have done so far because of the pandemic. Usually, we only have 1 time budget revision. But in 2020, the government did until 3 times. It means that it is really serious, the problem on financial. And of course, in national level, until May 2020, the revenue has only come to 50%, only reached up to 50% from its national budget. And what happened in local government? Yeah, the local government is more worse. But again, even we are in the worst situation, but we have to wish the best. What we can do in the worst situation to take the best action or hope for the best. So knowing that the situation on budget is not very excellent, or it is under the assumption of the national budget and also in the local budget. So the government trying to refocusing the anggaran. So that's why the 2 strategy on refocusing and reallocation of the budget become the main strategy for the government. So that's why it's related to the other question, how the fourth safety net, which is issued by the government, being prioritized in the national budget. And if we know, if the revenue is not reach the numbers that have been set up by the government, it means that we can see the fiscal capacity also is in a serious problem. So that's why the government trying now to recover with the new economic policy for national budget. I think it is now in the local government, we can see that there are now tourism has been open in Indonesia, starting with tourism, and also manufacturing sector now is also open. And hopefully it will be soon follow with the transportation sector and also other sectors in Indonesia.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mbak Arin. And the next question coming from Tri Kurniawan, and then Tri Kurniawan, after Tri Kurniawan, it should be Mbak Ria Angin, and also after the last one will be coming from Yoga Dari. The three of you, please, you can turn on your microphone so you can address and you can answer directly to all the speakers. Okay, Kurniawan, please.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask.
Where are you from, Mas Putri?
So my questions is for Miss Sukanya.
Yes. Yeah.
In Thailand, there were 26,927 confirmed cases of COVID, with 86 cases of death. With numbers like that, I think the Thai government has success in reducing the number of transmission and death of COVID cases, while Singapore, alone as developed country, has cases of COVID of 60,088. Then, what policy has the Thai government taken to ensure the health of its people from COVID-19? Is there a special policy given from the Bangkok central government to its local government in Thailand? Thank you.
Yeah, as mentioned before, you know, we are under the special situation for 8 years, you know, so everything mostly centralization, including the policy, including the COVID-19 policy as well. That is really strong policy from the government office, you know, from the cabinet, you know, from the Ministry of Health, you know, to control, to prevent, to take care and to, you know, cure, make a curement to the disease, to the pandemic quite well. So we, let's say, you know, not, you know, frankly speaking, I think sometimes, you know, as for the size of Thailand is not so so large as I told you. So it might be better for this kind of situation like pandemic, you know, the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic that occur, you know, very seriously and very quick, you know, the beginning of last year up till the second wave of the COVID-19 is still here with us. So I think sometimes some policy, some situation, the centralization instead of local government, you know, centralization is better for the government to practice more like centralized, you know, in for the quick and effective result. So in my opinion, I'm not sure the local government play less role in terms of dealing with the COVID-19, but this is the government office, the central government office policy management, and it achieved, you know, the successful of controlling, at least, you know, for some certain amount of spreading the disease is quite low comparing to some country as mentioned, you know. So maybe this not correlate to the topic, you know, local government development, you know, because this is, I give the credit to the central government instead of the decentralization of dealing with something like this, like the COVID-19. We need someone very sharp, maybe some dictator in some town, dictatorship leadership to control something as well. For example, the COVID-19 pandemic expansion and its success, you know, in my opinion, it's really success. We control in good, you know, condition. Yeah. And in Khon Kaen, it's very safe place, but we just try to prevent that. You have to make sure that 14 quarantine in Thailand, 14 quarantine in Indonesia. That is for making sure. But I think, you know, we are quite safe. For example, I give you one case that we have Khmer, Cambodian student. He's supposed to be here last year for first academic year, but he couldn't come because of pandemic. So this year we open. Even if we have 14 quarantine, we open because we think we safe enough, you know, to let the foreign student to come, you know, including some other from China as well. This academic year, this coming academic year, in the next 4 months, you know. So that is because of successful, I think, you know, of the central government policy management. Yeah. In this case, in COVID-19 only. Okay.
Thank
yeah.
you, Sukanya.
I hope I answer your question. You know. Thank you.
The next one is coming from Daria Angin.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to address my question to Mbak Arin. As you know that work from home is a new policy for Indonesian, and how the government control the performance of the workers, or ASN, we call in Indonesia is ASN. Thank you.
And then, okay, we call that one. Last question from Yoga, please, Mas Yoga. Mas Yoga. Yeah. Okay, Mas Yoga, turn on your microphone. Okay, if not, okay, Mbak Arin, please, you can answer quickly and straight away.
Okay, thank you, Guria, for a very good question.
So you can ask a question.
Hello?
Okay, Arin, okay, cool. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. I think for the public servant, we have the policy on work from home. And inside the work from home, the government also put the public servant as the role model to tackle this COVID-19. It means that how the public servant in their behavior give the good example for the surrounding environment to show that they can be the agent of change to tackle the COVID-19. So the position as the role model during the pandemic for a public servant is very crucial. It is not easy for Indonesian people to use mask, for example, in their daily life. But starting from the public servant, that we have around 5 million for the central government public servant, and also added by the local government officials. We hope that the people can follow the example from the public servant. See, for example, Pak Eko. Pak Eko now is not use the mask because he is at home. So
I'm at my office. And I already got a vaccine.
Yeah, he already got the vaccine. Okay. Congratulations. But actually, for a public servant, should be the role model for other people. Yeah, how they use mask. But in terms of efficient of their work, it also should be evaluated how the work from home can accelerate the productivity. If we are at home, usually the productivity getting lower.
No, be productive in other place, especially in our body.
Yeah, but using the e-office, I think the public servant still can have a high productivity, even they are implementing the work from home. So there are many regulations during the COVID-19 for the public servant. I think, yeah, Ministry of Reform and Ministry of Bureaucracy Reform has issued many regulations for the public official or public servant to do their work in a productive ways, even they are not at home. Actually, I want to show you what kind of regulation that has been issued by the government, but I used to laptop here, so it is difficult for me.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Mutiarin. I
Yeah.
know how busy are you.
You can send to my email maybe.
And for Mbak Ria Angin, there is no excuse. Even though you stay at home, you have to keep your spirit up. You have to write down and do more work.
I do my best.
Okay, last because after this we have to close, but there is one question coming from Mas Yuga. Do you have Mas Yuga? Are you here?
I think from Philippines, Dr. Hazel has an important question also to be answered here. Maybe you forgot, Pak Eko.
Yeah, Vita already asked the question, Mbak Arin, when you were moved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you can answer. You can answer Jovita's question as well.
Oh, if the other already answered, then I don't need to answer.
No, not yet. Acan Sukanya, do you want to answer Jovita's question?
Could you repeat the question again?
Okay, Jovita.
Slowly repeat, yeah. Sorry, I cannot hear.
Jovita, you there?
Maybe.
Could you please? Yes. I missed the question at the beginning. Okay, can you repeat again? Excuse for that.
Yeah, repeat the question, Pak Eko.
Yeah, wait a minute.
I think, yeah, during waiting, yeah. Could I add something?
Yeah, yes, please. Yes, please, Acan.
Could I add something? Because I saw the from chatting, you know, that they asked
from chatting,
how,
yes.
yeah, how local
governments
to less standard of living in a pandemic situation like this. In case of and from existing human and natural resources, I think the local government, acting local government, I say that I could say that they respond to the central government still, you know, seriously and strictly. Any policy come from central government, like, you know, to preserve natural resource, to protect the existing human being in the local, in the community, is seriously being followed, you know, by the practice of the acting local government. You know, that's we think we keep the standard quite tight, you know, special standard during the pandemic situation more than before, you know, more than last 2 years, you know. So I think the sanitary, the health of the citizen in, for example, in my community, in my province, you know, seems to be better, you know, in terms of preventing. Because if you catch a cold, you know, before that you catch a cold more than this, you know, but now you prevent, you have a new normal, you have a next normal, you have keep distancing from people who cough, who sneeze, something like that. You be safe, other than not only from the pandemic, but from other coldness, from the cough, from the sore throat or something like that. It's I can tell that people have more healthier, you know, than before, and this is because of the policy from the pandemic, you know. This spread.
I think the most important question from Hazel Jovita is about the civil society participation. In which level is it civil society participation in your country, and then in which civil society participation that we can make sure that helps our local governance. Yeah, the question from Hazel Jovita about the level of civil society, and then what kind of level society that can help the local government to be good governance.
You mean the people participation, right?
Yeah, people participation.
Yeah.
Yes.
I just give the example of pandemic because of
Yes.
it might be clear for this time, and participation of the citizen during the pandemic or even to deal with the pandemic, I think is very, very good. It's in high, it's high level for the case of Thailand. People afraid, people be aware of the serious, the date. They don't want to get this kind of disease, and it's very serious if you get that kind of disease, this virus. It's really difficult to live with it. So the people participation in terms of pandemic situation is higher than normal than the last 2 years. During this time, you just tell me anything. You tell your neighbor, your friends, your colleague, they collaborate with you very well. For example, as well, the participation of agreeing to work from home. For example, all people work from home. I'm now work from home. This is my private room. That's why I don't have to wear mask. But if I go out, I have my mask here. Which is have to show when you take picture, because when you taking picture, you cannot see who is who. So I'm carrying right away when I go out in outside of my house, but in the private room like this, and we follow the work from home very serious, and we have to learn how to use the technology. That is quite hard for us in the beginning. At the beginnings. But anyway, collaboration, participation of the citizen is much, much better than before pandemic, I think, in Thailand, in the case of Thailand, because they are aware, they know the virus is very serious, and they want to get that kind of virus and, spread on over Thailand. And they might, okay with the government, even if they don't like somehow, because of the, the way they come to control with us. But now for the pandemic, it's quite okay for me. Participation, citizen participation from the grassroots up till the high level people, because they feel the same thing, the safety from pandemic, from this kind of virus, they feel the same thing. They share the same feeling, being afraid of it, So it's very high level of people participation now. Okay.
Yeah, and I think I do agree in terms of the COVID-19. I think in Thailand, the Thailand government and civil society, they can manage the pandemic better than Indonesia, I think, because in terms of the victim, in terms of the patient, the number of patients in Thailand is manageable, but Indonesia is still struggling. But luckily, our government already start the vaccination. So currently, nearly 6 million people in Indonesia already got vaccine. So it's good news as well. And the next one from Adil. So you can explain a bit about civil society participation during the pandemic in Sudan. So, Adil.
Okay. Pak Eko, for this question. Actually, we have numbers of the civil society organization in Sudan. They try to help to assist the government to overcome, to control the pandemic. As pandemic reached in Sudan in March 2020. So, of course, all bodies of government and all the civil society, they try to cooperate and do together in order to save the citizens and to make the infections, to their number to be less. So the civil society in Sudan, of course, they are working side by side with the government. And although they are not very developed really, but they are going to be developed. They are going to expand, to increase their number and also to increase their role. Now their role is limited, but we are going to, the government try to expand their role and to give them more chance in order to enhance the peace and enhance the human rights and all the principles of the democracy. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And last but not least, Professor Mutiarin, you want to answer about what should government Indonesia do to dealing with this COVID-19, especially in the civil society, please.
Yes, thank you, Pak Eko, for the opportunity to answer this very important question for our partner at Philippines. I would like to read the report from e-government development index, e-participation index in 2020, Indonesia is on the rank of 35. Before, in 2018, the rank was in 92. So it means significantly increasing. It means that we have better e-participation. This is about the e-participation for public participation. So it means that Indonesia achieved better in 2020, even we are in the pandemic. This is a lesson learned from this pandemic, that pandemic encouraged us to do the e-government better, e-public participation better. So I think this number will answer what Jovita question, what Jovita has asking for us. And we hope that this rank will be stable or at least increase the next year.
Better.
Okay, thank you, Pak Eko.
Yeah, thank you very much to all the participants. Thank you very much to all the guest speakers. Thank you all the respected speakers. And also thank you very much to all of the hosts and co-hosts. So finally we have to close, but before we close, and I give it back to Lubna, because after this we have to take pictures. All the participants, please turn on your video so we can take picture together, even though the picture is virtually, but we will want to put our picture, our website, in APSPA website and also MEP website. So I do hope everyone enjoy our discussion. We will meet again in the next discussion. Our next discussion will be next 2 weeks. The speaker will be coming from Acara University, Acara Sukanya, and then Dr. Suswanto from MEP, and from our partner from UUM, Dr. Dino Khairi. I do hope all of you will join again for the next webinar series. Thank you very much to all of you, and I do apologize. And once again, Lubna, are you there? It's time for you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for every speakers that already given their explanation towards the local government development in each country. Thank you so much to Achan Sukanya. Thank you so much for Dr. Dyah Mutiarin, and also thank you so much for Adil Hassan from Sudan. I hope from today meeting and today public lecture we can get a new insight about how Indonesia, Thailand, and also Sudan, especially in the local government development, able to handle the pandemic situation in the perspective of some budgeting and also public policy. Further, this public lecture will be continue in the next 2 weeks. We hope to see you again in the next meeting in another webinar series conducted by Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Thank you so much for participating, and we wish you always in a good health. And we see you again later. Thank you.
Foto dulu nah, by slide.
Okay. So for the participants, please turn on your camera. We will take a screenshot, and then we will post it later in our news. Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3. For those who has not turned on the camera, please turn on the camera.
Next slide.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We wish you always in a good health. Take care and
See you.
again.
Yeah, see you, Eko,
Yeah,
Lukna,
thank you,
and
Achan.
everyone.
See you soon.
Okay, see you too.
The partner, thank you very much from Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines, and also from UM Jember, UM Jakarta, Unisa. Thank you very much, and all the participants, IPTN, and everyone. Terima kasih semuanya ya. Kita ketemu lagi. Kita ketemu lagi.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mas Arif Hidayat. Thank you, Ori. Thank you, Mas Arif.